You know, one of the things I've been thinking about. This is going to be more of a very important, but more of a philosophical video about what it takes to maintain wealth over a long period of time. One of the things that I've been thinking about is, and the reason why I've been thinking about this is that I've spent 13 hours, 14 hours over the last 2 to 3 weeks analyzing proposals for Bitcoin Treasury deals, Bitcoin Treasury company deals. And I've basically decided to reject all of them besides one, and that is Nakamoto, because I believe in what David Bailey and Bitcoin Magazine and Bitcoin Inc. and everyone, the whole team is doing there, right? And I believe that they have something unique. So I decided to put my money into that one deal. I'm not into private equity, by the way. It's never been my thing. So it's brand new to me too, like learning how to actually look at these things. So, but I do understand Bitcoin, and I understand the liquidity, and I understand, where things are going as far as a macro trend. So therefore I started to look into it. But this really isn't about that. Here's one thing that from your perspective, because the reality is most of you watching, 99.8% of you watching this video will not have access to these deals before they hit the market and they're publicly listed. So it's not really about that. That doesn't help you in any way. Here's what I've learned as a result of doing this work and having these phone calls that I think will benefit you. And I think it's something that you need to be aware of. And I think it's something that most people are not aware of, especially when I see people, on X, turning around and buying Bitcoin, and now Bitcoin growth is sort of boring them. So now they've sold out and they've gone into MicroStrategy or strategy at let's say a 2x MNAV. And before strategy is caught up with, the amount of Bitcoin that they've traded, because really when you do a 2x MNAV, what you're doing is you're handing over $100,000, but you're getting $50,000 of Bitcoin, right? So let's say you've sold out of that $100,000 Bitcoin position. You've now bought MicroStrategy. You now need to wait for strategy to actually accumulate that extra 50,000 Bitcoin and build the value up before you trade out of that at a break even, if Bitcoin is your hurdle rate. But what these morons are doing now is they're trading out of that because Metaplanet spaces and Metaplanet videos and Metaplanet analysts are now, the big dicks in the room. And so now they're selling out at a 2x MNAV on strategy, and then getting into Metaplanet at a 4x MNAV, which is diluting your Bitcoin as the hurdle rate even more. And that is fucking stupid. Like, I don't understand how people are doing this. X is certainly a really good way to explain these things, but the hysteria around, these Bitcoin treasury companies has been quite scary to watch, because people are diluting their own wealth. And then obviously the more you dilute it, the more you've got to catch up. So now Metaplanet, if you've got into Metaplanet at a 4x MNAV and Bitcoin is your hurdle rate, well, now you need to wait for, and then you've also, potentially lost on the strategy hurdle rate, because, or the strategy MNAV, because you sold out too early on that. Well, then now you probably, Metaplanet needs to go to, like, I don't know, at this point, if the price stayed the same, it would probably need to expand to an 11x MNAV just to be able to make up that difference, right? It's just ridiculous. Like, and again, this is how the peasant classes stay the peasant classes, because what you're taught and encouraged to do is to leak your wealth, and that's really the point of this video. And by the way, these, I believe, are the important conversations now, because when I think about my content, so to say, like, Yeah, it's been frustrating because my message of get to 1 Bitcoin is now basically applicable to maybe 0.4 to 0.5% of the world's population. And so really what I'm trying to do here, and as you've seen with the content on MSTY and everything else, is to try and help people who have the amount of Bitcoin that they need to have, keep it. Because what's going to happen here, and one of the techniques for driving people to leak their wealth, is that you drive the implied volatility of your dopamine down to the ground, make it boring. Now people that really need to make a buck tomorrow are now like, let me get out of this, get into this, get out of this, get into this. And young people and also older people alike are going to get caught up in these waves, right? And those waves force you to leak your wealth because you're constantly getting in and out of things, not realizing that Bitcoin is the hurdle rate, and you need to actually, hold on to that Bitcoin and measure things in Bitcoin, not in dollars. And so, look, that's what's going on right now. And I think that the implied dopamine volatility is going to be crushed while the Bitcoin price goes straight up and to the right. And that's going to bore people. I think we're going to, as I've said for a while, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I think these cycles have changed. I don't think BlackRock gets into an investment or tells an investment to their clients and then appreciates seeing that investment go up 400% in 3 months and then crash 80 to 90% for 3 years. I don't think that makes any sense for an entity like BlackRock, right? I think those days, I think this is where the cycles are going. I think those days are over. So in that sense, now, one of the techniques to get people to leak their wealth, and by the way, it's working, because look how much Bitcoin is being moved from retail to institutional, right? It's all working, right? People are not listening to anything that I or any other great creators in Bitcoin are saying, right? Because they're clearly leaking their Bitcoin. And people always say, yeah, but you're telling people to sell their Bitcoin for MSTY. Well, yeah, morons. Like taking 10% of a portfolio so that you never have to touch the other 90% versus selling down your portfolio while that 10% kind of matches the CAGR of the dollar CAGR of the underlying asset can make sense, right? But all these people that are like, okay, I'm out of MicroStrategy because you saw some moron on X say, oh, Metaplanet, I saw Metaplanet spaces. So people doing spaces on Metaplanet saying they're buying long calls on Metaplanet, deep in the money, deep out of the money, long calls on Metaplanet because this is the new move and blah, 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 blah. Like, how many times you're going to see this rodeo before you realize that this is how your wealth gets leaked? You start chasing it. This is I completely believe what I'm about to say. And it's also the reason why my 13 wasted hours, besides 4 minutes, which was the Nakamoto analysis, because it was like, okay, yeah, David Bailey's team, they're gonna do a good job here. And also like gut feel goes a long way. And I made like 2 phone calls, and both the people I called said, yep, I'm in that deal. I was like, okay, done, 4 minutes. That's how it took. So the rest of the 12 hours and 56 minutes that I spent analyzing this made me realize like people are going to leak their wealth chasing any of these opportunities. And they're not going to realize what the hell's going on because the sharks are here now. Like, this is Wall Street's world. This is not, your favorite Bitcoiners. No matter how nice they look, no matter how, we're on a Bitcoin mission they look. These are financial engineers and they're financial sharks that are going to make you leak your wealth, and your wealth is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the new wealth. It is the new capital. It is the prime capital. It is the pristine capital, as it's been called. And that's what they want, right? And so you're going to be trading in and out of these things and this, that, and the other. It just doesn't serve you well, right? It doesn't serve you well. Make bets that are like long-term. And again, for me, as I've said many times, Bitcoin is the new zero, right? Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. It's like Bitcoin is the inflation rate. So you are losing money if you don't make the amount of dollars to match that inflation rate. Well, Bitcoin's that new zero number now, right? So yeah, I have growth investments in addition to my savings, which is Bitcoin. Those growth investments for me is basically strategy, and then like 0 point something percent in Nakamoto. But yeah, like I just think this is yours to lose now. The game has been won. The entire US government is pro-Bitcoin. The entirety of Wall Street is pro-Bitcoin now. BlackRock is pro-Bitcoin. Cantor Fitzgerald, one of the 24 firms that can print money directly from the Federal Reserve, is pro-Bitcoin. This is yours to lose, and most of you are losing it. Because ultimately, there's always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.